All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to the UQR user group. Welcome to those online who are probably returning, and to those in person who I don't recognize any familiar faces. So welcome to UQRUG for the first time, potentially, at least in person, while I've been here. UQRUG is it's a gathering of users here at UQ. We come together to help each other with any kind of R question you might have, help solve problems, share tips, share some cool code that you've got, and just hang out. So we often just meet, and some people might just sit in the background and code, not pay attention to us, and that's totally fine. We usually meet the last Wednesday of every month. You may have noticed it is not the last Wednesday of every month, of this month at the moment, and it's because we're here for the Research Bazaar in Queensland. And usually we're on from 12 till 2, so we're in a magical afternoon slot as well. So there's a lot of changes today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, you can see the address to get to the UQRUG website here. I might actually share that in the chat for those online. And for those in person, I do encourage you to join onto the Zoom call, and I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. So if you do have Zoom on your computers, open it up. It's just so that if you do have a question at any point in time, you can share your screen, but you don't have to join the Zoom call. Make sure you do mute yourself if you do join, so we don't have many voices. But I'll go ahead and go to our hedge doc, which is a special little document we've got here that sort of anyone can add to and collaborate in. And it means that we can ask our questions there. So you can get to this by going to the UQRUG website and then clicking on the little document thing up the top here. So that's uqrug.netlify.app, and then click this little document guy here. And you can see uqrug.netlify.app here again. If you want to connect through, I'm just going to turn off Teams, otherwise that will keep happening. Sneak preview of the ResBaz organizers chat there. That's what UQRUG is. The way that we work through this is we get everyone to come through to this hedge doc page so they can add their names to the list. So we got a feel for who's here and we can introduce each other without having to go around with 20 different people. And then I'll get you to add your questions onto this page. I'll show you how to do all those steps in just a moment. We'll go through the intro to the R package, which this week it's going over some cool but useless R packages. Often we have special guests in. Today it's just me. But hopefully the packages make up for that. And then at the end, we'll go through those questions that everyone's put in and go around trying to answer them as a group. So like I said, if you are here in person, you can join the Zoom meeting there. Don't forget to mute yourself or we'll get some reverb happening. For those online, I have no idea what the speakers are like in here. So if you are talking and I don't hear you, do comment in the chat and let me know. Cool. So, to add yourself to the hedge doc, what you need to do is go to this hedge doc document, and you can again get to that by going to UQRUG and clicking the little document thing. Once you're there, there should be a little pencil button, and we'll get everyone online to do this as well. Go to the little pencil button and click on that, and that will then allow you to edit this document, which you can all edit. You don't need permissions to edit. You don't need a login. Hedge doc's really cool like that. And once you have clicked that pencil button, you then have the option to view, to edit, or to view both viewing and editing side by side. And here you can see some Markdown code. So if you're not familiar with Markdown, it is a simple markup language. They like having silly names for things. HTML is a form of markup language that you would be at least remotely familiar with, but it's a more complicated markup language with complicated bits of code, whereas this markup language, Markdown, is very simple. If you want to add a title, you simply add a hash and then some text. If you want to add a 4th level title heading, you add 4 hashes and some text. And you can see what that looks like on the right-hand side. You want to make something bold, you add some asterisks either side of the thing and it makes it bold. If you want to learn more about Markdown, let me know, but that's all you need to know for now. If you scroll down to the section where it says attendees, you'll see there is on the right-hand side a very pretty looking table, and on the left-hand side, the ugly beast that is Markdown tables. They don't look pretty, but they function. So what I'll get you to do is add your name to that. If we run out of spaces, you simply need to add 1, 2, 3, 4 pipe symbols, you know, the little shift backslash button above the enter key. That's where it is on my keyboard. And add your name in there. As you can see, some people had already added their names in. And go through there, scroll down, add your name in there. I can see heaps of people adding the names, which is awesome to see. And I can see that there is a broken line up here where if you put it in the wrong thing, it's simple enough to just add a extra pipe in there and that'll fix it up. So if I do a quick edit there, that's going to change where that's sitting and it fixes it. Let's see, there's a chat. Yep, no worries. Right, so once you've added your name there, I'll get you to go ahead and put any questions, any burning questions that you've got right at the start into the questions section. So you can see I've already got some pre-formatted slots that you can just put your details into. So we'll go through these in the order that people put them in. So first in, best dressed. Where it says your question here, that's where I want you to type your question. And where it says your name, that's where I want you to type your name. And then any extra details we may need to know so that you can beef it up a little bit. And then if you do have an answer for that question, which you can go through and do this at any time, you don't have to do it in front of everybody. You can just sneak in there and be like, here's the solution to your problem anonymously, or go in there and put your name in as well. And that's how we do it here at RUG. So go in there, add your name, go in there, add your questions, and you're already doing coding, I guess, because this is Markdown, which is a coding language. Any questions or issues about that at this stage? I can see Valentina's gone around and helped people who need helping, but everyone's got their things in. Cool. I'll go back to the regular viewing mode. We can see we've got a good range of people here. Usually it's just a whole bunch of different UQ places, so it's good to see a nice variety of things. I've said it before, and I'll just reiterate this. If you're from a different university, I don't mind if you come to UQRUG at other times as well. You know what the Zoom link is now, and you know how to get to it. So if you show up, I guess we'll help you. It's a community. I'm happy for whoever to come along because we learn by helping each other as well. Often people ask questions I have no idea about, but someone in the room might have some idea, and then I get to learn, and everyone else does too. And I'm a big fan of there being no such thing as stupid questions. So if you're like, oh, this is too basic a question, if you've got the question, come here and ask it. So yeah, and even if it's like only tangentially R related, feel free to put it in there as well. We might prioritize other ones, but yeah. Valentina.
If they are interested in delivering a session.
Oh, yes. If you are interested in delivering a session here at UQRUG, especially from wherever you're from, if you're from UQ or not, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you about presenting to us. So we've done a variety of different sessions. I need to actually update this list, but some of these have been me. Valentina gave us one. We had a number of UQ students. We've had a number of UQ lecturers come in. So yeah, if you've got something you want to teach to people that you think could be interesting or useful or cool, please do. And you'll see that it doesn't have to be well polished. You'll see that in what I do. Some of it may look polished, but other bits are definitely not. So it's a good opportunity to practice those things as well. And we don't generally aim for about a half hour, 15-minute to half-hour overview. Sometimes it goes longer than that, as everyone will attest to, but I think I'll jump into it now. So, Cool But Useless came about. I think I was just looking for more interesting ways to do stuff with R. And then Valentina talked to someone who shared a GitHub repository that had a whole bunch of cool but useless R packages. And so I've gone through and explored those and tried to find some interesting bits and pieces. You can find the slides for today's session on the UQRUG website, which is a Quarto document. For those who are unaware of Quarto, it's a wonderful thing that plugs into R that allows you to create websites using R. So this whole website is made using R. And if you go to the event page and you go to today's section, you can see the slides for today, which have also been made using R. Just do everything in R. There is a way that I can make this full screen. That's the F button. That's right. Cool. So, cool but useless. this month, we're going to play with some entertaining R packages and hopefully make the process of learning R a bit more fun and interesting. For me personally, I find the best way to learn to code is to play, because I don't know, you just try different things and go around, and I find it more interesting that way and more engaging. And sometimes you accidentally learn stuff along the way when you're trying to do something stupid, like put some meme dogs into your graph, which is something we're going to have a look at doing today. I'm going to really skate over this kind of stuff. And if you happen to have questions that relate to this, you can add those in the hedge doc as we go, and we'll try to answer those as well. I'll also have questions at the end if people have them. But you can see here, this is just a ggplot with some geom dogs thrown in, as you do. And yeah, I'll go to the next slide where I show a little bit more. No, the next slide after this one. So if you want to find fun R packages, you can obviously just Google around. There's all sorts of lists of silly and wonderful R packages out there. But today we're going to look at, I fixed that link, but I forgot to push my GitHub repo. But anyway, there's a list of cool but useless ones that are online. I think that link is actually working, so that's good. Yeah, there's all sorts of different lists out there. There's some meme repositories, and there's also yeah, cool but useless, which has 188 different repositories, so lots to play with there. So the first one we're going to look at is ggdogs, which answers the question, have you ever wanted to replace the points in your ggplot with dogs? Well, now you can do that. So if you are going through this yourself as well, you can actually, if you do have R open, you should be able to go in here and copy that code. Again, I added the installation files for ggdogs, but they aren't there anymore, so you will have to install ggdogs. So I will briefly show you how to do that. If you just do a Google search for ggdogs, there we go. You can see this top one is ggdogs. You can't install this through the normal way of installing R packages because it's not on the comprehensive R archive network. For some reason, this isn't an official R package. If you scroll down through GitHub, if you're afraid of GitHub, don't worry. There's a nice friendly README file with lots of dogs on it. These are just some of the many dogs you can put into your graphs. There's a whole meme verse. This is a bit of a spoiler, but we'll be getting to those ones in a moment. If you do want to install it, simply go to this installation section here, and that's what you need to install it. So
copy paste it.
Yeah, so just if you copy and paste that into R, you should be able to then install ggdogs. You then use, library ggdogs, and then you can start using those. We have a bit of a play at the end, and I really encourage you to do so, but I want to keep the overview relatively brief so I can skate over a number of different things. But to do this, install ggdogs, load the library of ggdogs, and then create a ggplot. mtcars is like one of the built-in packages, one of the built-in data sets in R. And instead of having points, we have the Doge with size 5. So I could have made the Doge a little bit smaller, and I could have picked a different meme dog to put in there as well. There's 25 different ones to choose from, and they're listed on the GitHub repo. We've got a question.
I copy pasted install underscore GitHub, but it doesn't pass. Could not find function install.
So you may need to, if you are having trouble installing, you can see there's this, you'll have to remove this hash symbol first. You need to have the package remotes to run it. So just delete that hash there. Sorry, I copied the whole thing.
Okay.
They're presuming people have remotes installed already. So if you run that, that should then work. And if it doesn't, well, that's what we can play with at the end. Cool, so there's some ggdogs. So what if instead of dogs, you're a cat person? There's that functionality there for you. Again, this is exactly the same plot, but we've replaced it with the toast cat. And yes, there is a whole bunch of different cats that you could put in instead. But if you are neither a cat person or a dog person, and you are instead a democratic socialist, there's a whole bunch of Bernies. Now, size 5 was probably a bit of an overshot here. Probably should have made it smaller, but you may have noticed I just copied and pasted the same bit of code for the last 3 slides. But yeah, so if you needed to, you could do that as well. Now, this code is obviously, I think that falls under cool but useless really well. But the thing is, to be able to then put those in and pick exactly where you want them to be, you will learn things in this process. You are doing coding. So you're not just wasting time. You are actually learning things as well, because it's like learning any language. R is a language that you'll need to learn, and being fluent with the grammar of R is useful. Just like when you're learning like a spoken language, if you can learn to say something really silly that's grammatically correct, that's great. It's good practice. So this is grammatically correct ggplot that's silly. And then it flows into other things like geom_label. So this is a normal standard R package, but here I used geom_label combined with some ggdogs to demonstrate CO2 accumulation in the atmosphere through time. So turning something that's not at all humorous into something that might be humorous, depending on your perspective. So you place a Doge down here during the industrial era, and then you've got the this is fine one, and then the sad Doge at the end there. So to place those onto there, I had to, individually say, I want this particular Doge to be at this year and at that. So this point and that on the X and the Y axis, which, is silly. But putting the labels there, although they are silly labels, is a useful thing to be able to do. I know I said this was useless, but, you can learn sometimes too. Another good one is ggAnimate, which I don't think it's necessarily useless, but I wanted to show you this cool use of the ggcats plus ggAnimate and ggplot2, where you can track things with that. So, now, I didn't make this. You can see the graph is by someone called JPCH, and I just lifted the code, pasted it into my Markdown document. Here's the code here, if you want to have a look at the complexity that went into that one. That's a bit more of a complex one. But then you get a cool GIF at the end. So who wouldn't want to learn how to do that code? All right, beepr. beepr is a, right, okay. Actually, any questions about the GG meme universe before we go on? All right, start transition into beepr. So this is another silly package. It's not super silly, but it is a little bit at the same time. Basically, beepr will play a sound. I think it's only got one function, which is beep. And I couldn't figure out a way to make it run through my slides. So I'm actually just gonna duck out of the slides, go to my RStudio over here. By the way, those who aren't familiar with R Markdown or with Quarto, this thing that we're looking at, this is what's built the slides that we're looking at today. So we've got the YAML, which is yet another markup language. That's what YAML stands for and what it really is as well. We've got like a code chunk here. We've got the title of one of the slides, but that's not what we're looking at today. We're looking at, there's the GG dogs that we made. I'm going through this to make a beep sound. This is really exciting. Why am I doing this when I've got the outline on the right-hand side here? So for those who don't realize, if you use a R Markdown document or a QMD, you can use this drop-down here to go through the document. You can also click this outline button to go to it. So instead of scrolling through, I'm just going to click that. So here is the beepr R code. Again, you need to install the package, but this one isn't on GitHub. This is on GitHub, but it's also in CRAN. So it's a legitimate R package. And I'm just going to really quickly get that code working now. There you go. Gonna comment that out so I don't get too many beeps happening at once.
The system sounds.
Yeah, probably. Oh, it's good. It's going through over here, isn't it?
Mm.
No.
Is it coming through the?
No, you don't have a speaker.
Coming through here?
Auditorium.
Ooh, not that.
Try it
Fail
again.
to detect your speaker. Hold on, let me see if I can. Oh, I see what it's doing. All right, I think I've got a solution. All right. It's not very loud. You're not going to be able to hear it very well, but anyway. Wasn't that worth the wait? Oh gosh. So we could do other beep sounds too, like beep 2. Beep 2, Nick. Beep 2. Beep 3. And there's a whole bunch of beeps. If we go to the help menu for it, F1 for those, no, function F1 because mine's mapped. You can see there are 11 to choose from. Most of them are silly. So like by itself, it's useless. I actually do have a useful application for it. If I have a really long bit of code that takes like 5 minutes to run or something, I'll put it at the end and then I hear it when it's finished. But you can also do silly things with it too, like this, which I showed Cameron yesterday and he thought it was
Broke.
he broke. Cool. He broke Cameron. So here, this is a dumb bit of code that basically when I run this chunk, it's going to sit there. You can see when I run it, it gives me an output of the current time, which is what it's printed there. And then it checks to see if the current number of minutes are equal to whatever number I put there. It should be 0, 0, but I'm not going to sit here and wait that long. Once that minutes is at 24, it will beep the number of times that it is the hour. So it's like a little, old school clock thing that goes dong, dong, dong when it hits 3 o'clock. But obviously it's hitting it 3:24 on the dot. And if it isn't that time, what it does is it just sets itself to sleep for the number of seconds minus the 60 minus the number of current seconds that there are in the current minute. So that's, I don't have an application for that. I don't think it's a good idea to just, like, I could probably set it up so it just does that all day or something. So I've just got R sitting in the background and then on the hour, every hour, it does a ding sound. And I could make it do a different sound. So instead of waiting for it to go beep, we'll have to get this running before.
Another minute.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I don't know if that came through online, but we had got the Wilhelm scream 3 times. So you could set that up. It's probably really bad use of code. But that was the theme today, something useless. So there we go. All right, I'm going to go back to the slides. I shouldn't go back to the slides because I'm going to go to the slides, then go to the next slide, which is I'm going to go back to the thing in just a moment. So the next package I want to introduce is Carelesswhisper. Now it's not WHAM. It is a lightweight. I really needed to push. I corrected that typo as well. I just didn't push the GitHub repository. It's a voice recording and transcription package, and it's only 70 megabytes, which seems like a lot, but when you see what it does, you'll be like, how is that only 70 megabytes? But again, I have to leave the presentation to actually show you how it works because yeah, it's a bit more complicated. So it's not super useless, to be honest, but I've got a useless application for it. So just you wait. So again, you need to install it from a remote if you want to use this one. I'm going to hash that out. So I'm going to run Carelesswhisper. So we load it in. Then we need to initialize Carelesswhisper so that it's now like a new session to start recording things. And now I don't know what this is going to do, recording something while doing a Zoom thing. So apologies in advance to see what this does. But what it's doing right now is it should be recording 5 seconds of audio, and I don't know if it's going to work. Oh! That's probably Zoom getting cranky. Cool. I'm going to do the same thing again and see if it doesn't crash this time, which I think is the definition of insanity, but that's fine. That's fine, right? Okay, so I think it's because I'm trying to do too many things and it's not liking the fact that I'm sharing the USB. So what I'm going to do this time around for those online is I'm going to change the speaker on Zoom or mute myself on Zoom and see if it doesn't get cranky when I try to do that. All right, for those online, you can see that did not crash that time. So I think that means we've had success. Yeah, we're not out of, out of things yet. It could still crash. So I'm going to run the whisper thing now, which will use both the context of the initialization we did, and it'll get the audio we recorded. And what it's going to do is transcribe that from the audio that we recorded into text. So far, it's done a pretty good job. I haven't done it on this microphone from this distance before, but it should give us something along the lines of what I said. It does take a little bit of time, but
How did it transcribe it when they said anything?
I don't know. I think it's a really simple model. But yeah, I don't know. It baffles me. I haven't tried it offline or anything, but I don't think it's using anything. Is that not exactly what I said? So you can see the output down there. I put it into a variable called SND text, or the sound text. And you can see here, oh, sorry for everyone online. I should have zoomed in a little while ago. But here you can see it says, so this time around, it should be recording 5 seconds of my audio. And that I think is pretty much exactly what I said. But never fear, we have the ability to play it back. So this is going to be fun for me hearing my own voice. So this time around, it should be recording 5 seconds of my audio. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I never had it come out so well before, so that's really good. For a little bit more fun, we can change the sample rate. So the sample rate is like 16 kilohertz. But if I run it at 26 kilohertz, this is just hours of fun. And then the other way around, of course, is I think I went too slow. Again, for those online, I don't know if you can hear it. When I increased the rate, it made me into a chipmunk, and when I decreased it, it made me into a giant. Yeah. So there you go. That's something you could do. You can actually now export. I haven't played with this a lot, but you can export that as an RDS file, which is like an R data file of some sort, different to an R data file, which is another thing. Need to learn the difference properly. Happy for someone to tell me online or in person. But it means that you can export that and then input it again later on, in case you wanted to keep that recording of yourself saying those things. So useless application for this is when I combine it with something called Cowsay. So because I think audio transcription is pretty evidently useful. Maybe not something you do in R. There's probably better things out there for it, but I'm quite impressed with that. But yes, Cowsay is a fun little package that will, again, this is like beepr, is it has one function and the function is say. And so this time around, when I run this, basically it will create an ASCII character. This is a bad example of one. I'm going to go to my slides and show you the one that we made in the slides, because that one worked out well. I'll just jump ahead. There's the code that I used to do that Carelesswhisper stuff. But yeah, Cowsay will say, it'll create an ASCII character. saying the thing that you wanted to say. So you say, you type in what you wanted to say, and then you type in the ASCII character or random, and it'll create a random, like, I think it's like 20 to choose from. And here we have a little squirrel telling you how to use Cowsay. I'm going to run this again because that random option, I don't know what it has actually given us. Potentially, I'm too far zoomed in. Oh,
Is it?
Yeah, you're too far.
Space. That's a cowboy.
it's a cowboy. There you go. A weird looking cowboy, though. I feel like that's some sort of.
Maybe something else.
It looks like a cowboy, but like maybe like a mean cowboy or something. Anyway, if we go to the help menu for say, we can see that there's all these different options. So again, look, so instead of random, I'm going to change it to Yoda. And there we go. There's Yoda saying, okay, it's obviously it hasn't said it in Yoda style, but that would be asking a bit much. Yeah. So that's Cowsay. So then if you combine Cowsay with Carelesswhisper, then if I run this, so we get a cute little cat saying what I said, whilst what I said is said aloud in a chipmunk voice. And I like that it was a tiny little cat because I chose random, and I think that was a really good choice, random. So yes, there's always ways that you can make something that is useful into something that's entirely useless. And play it, play with that thing and see what kind of fun things you can get out of it. So again, I'm going to go back to my slides to probably then leave the slides to go back to show you the things. But anyway, another one I came across is rsoundfont. So this is a little bit more complicated, and it's not just R. You have to like download a whole bunch of MIDI sounds and stuff like that. But then once you do that, you can then play musical instruments in R. So again, it's only on GitHub. We load in the library. We pointed at where the library is located. So I had to go to this Phil's Computer Lab website and download it from there. And then once you do that, you can then, there's a whole bunch of different instruments you can sample, including just like a little mandolin sort of tremble thing there. And if I go to I think it's the help menu for this one. I think the list is on their GitHub page. So if you go to the GitHub page, there's a big long list. There's like banjos and mandolins and bagpipes. The bagpipes were characteristically awful. Just because it was a really MIDI bagpipe, not the bagpipes are bad. And so what you could do, this is probably going to crash R again, is get a whole bunch of things like that and play them all together. So you can see that I'm playing one sound from there that goes for 2 seconds, and then I sleep the system for 0.45 seconds, and then I play the next sound, and yeah, well let's see what happens.
Excellent.
Cool. Hopefully that came through well online as well, because it was fantastic in person. What was that?
Yeah, the time you spend on that.
Yeah. You may have noticed me like sitting in the corner today. That was a lot of fiddling around to get stuff like this working. And you can see a bunch of warning signs saying that the duration is longer than the amount that I requested. So that banjo will play for 2.8 seconds. You can't truncate it, but whatever. Moving on. I'm not going to go back to the slides this time. That was silly. So another very, very useless thing here in R is Wordle. You can install a package, again from GitHub directly, that has Wordle in it. And so if you run that, it's not going to be today's Wordle, of course. I don't even know if that's still that much of a thing, but you can play Wordle. And so if I go to the console here, we can make a guess. You have a 5-letter word. No, this isn't today's Wordle. This is just a random Wordle. So you can just play it as much as you want. Apple. There you go. It's just like the one on mine.
Yellow means, those would never play wordle. Yellow means an A is in it, but it's not the right spot.
That's right.
Everything else I said was wrong.
One A.
Five lemons.
Five. Oh.
Now we get.
Just getting a vibe from the room. Do we stop it now or do people want to keep playing? Whoa. Stack. Good suggestion. There you go. Somehow more impressive than the banjo, but that's I wasn't expecting.
Oh, yeah.
Frank.
Oh, black, sorry.
Drank. Yeah. Yeah, I was not expecting everyone to be there for it, but that's great.
Yeah.
I was not intending to actually play that through, but everyone was here for it, so yeah, there we go. Cool. So that I think is a really good way to finish off useless things that you can do in R. You can actually load in, like, someone's got Pac-Man in R. I don't know how much of that's actually built on R code and how much of it's just they've put a R wrapper around it and pulled in something else that runs Pac-Man. I didn't explore it because it was too much. But yeah, you can do wordle in R. So that's the extent of the overview. But before I wrap up, I want to do a competition for the December UQRUG. And the competition is the Cool But Useless competition. So this is me telling you that there's all these cool but useless packages out there. The competition will be on December 6th. So as you can tell, that is not the last Wednesday of the month because that's like Christmas Day probably or thereabouts. No one's going to come that day. Some people will be on holidays later in December. So I figured why not hold it in 2 weeks from now? It won't be in this building. It won't be at this time. It'll be over in the Central Library at 12 p.m. on December 6th. So what I'm keen to see is the most creative, useless packages and code compilations that you can find. So if you just find this really niche, useless package that everyone thinks is really cool, that's great. If you manage to daisy chain together a whole bunch of packages that are really unrelated and do something cool with it, that's what I want to see. Be creative, have fun. Yeah, so maybe a hilarious use of an R package, or yeah, you've changed things together to rival the Carelesswhisper Cowsay or the useless clock that I created in R. The winner will be chosen by those who are attending the next UQRUG. So it'll be like people's choice will be the winner. Now, you'll not only receive the honorable title of coolest and most useless, but you'll get the UQRUG rug, which currently doesn't exist. I'm going to order a tea towel off the net, off the web, that has the UQRUG logo on.
That's brilliant.
Other contenders. This is not an officially UQ affiliated. This is a community. There's no UQ branding on it. It just says the words UQ. I don't know. I don't know if that covers me or not. Cool, great.
Anything out of space?
Yeah, put that part out. Yeah, so what's that? So it doesn't have the UQ logo in it, so I don't think there's any IP being infringed upon there or anything like that. But I should probably check with our person. But other contenders were for the prize was the UQRUG mug, but what's that?
The UQRUG pug.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to brand. But anyone who does. Now, I should probably have put an asterisk there, but everyone else who enters will also get a prize of some sort. I have ideas around that, but probably a cute little UQRUG badge. So here's one that I made. The ones that I do make will be better because I got the sizing wrong when I printed it out. Yeah, so anyone who enters will receive that. The asterisk is, I don't know how many I'm going to make. I don't know how many people are going to enter. But if you do enter, I will make you one if I run it. So hopefully the UQRUG rug is in my hands in 2 weeks' time. And if it's not, I'll get it to you at a later date. Yeah, that's my UQRUG cool but useless overview. And we'll go to questions now, both about the cool but useless things and the cool but useless competition. Thank you.
Are team entries allowed?
I still don't know how well this is carrying in terms of the microphone, but the question was, are team entries allowed? And I say yes. I think team, because that's encouraging collaboration and cooperation, and that's very community minded. And yeah, I'm keen for that. And have playing together and exploring together is a great idea. Yes. Still only one prize.
Yeah, we'll cut that off.
No pretty. Cut it in half. So King Solomon style. Any other questions? No? Cool. But I did see there were questions on the page, so we will finish the presentational part of today and we'll go to the hacky hour part of today. I have not been paying attention to the chat, so I do apologize if people did ask questions as I was going. I've got one question about very early on stuff, but apologies for that one. If you need to go into a breakout room, I'm going to put you into a breakout room with someone who can help you out there. But what we'll do is we'll go to the hedge doc and we'll go through the questions that people have.
Would it be okay to do a reminder of possible questions in the website just for anyone who joined on the
So if you did join late, or you came into the room late and you have no idea how to get to this hedge doc that I've got here, you can get to it by going to the UQRUG website, which is uqrug.netlify.app. I think .com also works.
Is the first thing that will show up if you Google UQRUG?
Oh yeah, if you Google UQRUG, I've managed to get the SEO good. I don't know how. And go to that page and then click on the little document thing there. I think the hedge doc is actually the second thing that will appear in a Google ranking. So I'm just trafficking you to my website to use up the free hours that I have. Yes, so go through the UQRUG website. There'll be a little pencil in the top right-hand corner. Click on that to edit the note, and then you'll then get the option to either view, edit, or side view and get both of them. Scroll down to the question section. Also throw your name in here as an attendee if you'd like. And put in your questions. And we can see there are a whole bunch of questions, 2 questions so far as well. So if anyone does have any other questions, please go down to question 3 and put in the question there. Yeah, before we do jump through the questions, I realized I skipped something in my presentation, which was all the way back at the start. I meant to actually click on the link to go through to Cool But Useless to show you where you can find some Cool But Useless packages. I'm just getting rid of that directly. So someone called Mike FC has put together this whole bunch of different cool but useless packages. And you can see there's some called ggpattern, which links in well with the memeverse because you can fill like bar charts with cats and stuff like that. Yeah, so there's, as you can see, there's 188 repositories in there. Please do play, have fun, find fun things to do. And I mean, even if it's not a cool but useless package, and it's just like a standard R1, but you do something cool and interesting with it, that's great too. All right, back to the hedge doc. What was the first question? I have to go from very silly mode to not silly mode here because this is not a silly question. So the question is how to measure the stability of a network. Developing a time series network in R, the network is based on the correlation coefficient. Do we have anyone who does time series networks in the room or online?
That's when I did a workshop on it. I know that you and will answer this question. It should be on. If I-
Is that the staff? Oh.
Don't know if it will answer that question.
I've not done any time series networks like that at all. Whose question is that? Is that someone online or in person?
Online, Nicholas. I'm Pradeepa.
Hello.
Hi. I found the package. It's a TS2 net package. However, I still couldn't find how to measure the stability.
So did you say TS2, like a type there?
Yeah, TS2 net.
So, package.
Yeah.
So you can get it working, but you can't measure the stability of it?
Yes, yes.
This is beyond my scope. Generally, we have a good pool of people, but what I'll do is Kat. So Kat said that there may be some things.
Yeah, the library, we did something, but it was more basic. I'll find it.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Please share it with me.
Brilliant. What are you looking at exactly with the time series?
I want to develop a network, like using time series data,
Or in what field, I guess is the question.
economics.
Cool. Does anyone know people who work with this sort of thing?
No, but
I know
it's-
there were some stability tests in social networks.
it's- yeah. So, but this is okay because this is part of normal. If you're wrong. right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes we can answer, sometimes we just have to Google furiously until we get something. And by we, I mean everyone that is part of the session. Because, yeah, like this is not, and the idea that we help each other, but as opposed to imagining that maybe some sort of magical finder of knowledge. But you are too, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to help each other.
Evidently, I'm not. Yeah, that's you're totally right. If people want to Google around and be like, Google TS2net, Googling how to measure the stability of a network that you created using TS2net.
Yeah, I'll try that. Yeah.
Any hands make light work, and Valentina has done this a number of times in YouTube, being like, I have no idea, here's the solution, and it works. So, yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and I think while Kat tries to find those notes, maybe we could,
Move to the next one.
yeah.
Yeah.
The next one, if that's okay, and we get back to this one, it's sort of. Oh, look at that. It's happening.
Stationary, same as.
Did you hear that question? Pradeepa, what did you say, Kat? Stationarity?
Stationary.
Is stationarity the same as stability?
No, it's different.
No.
Well, I'm not sure stability, there's anything about stability in there, but that's what.
Yeah, stationarity, I think we usually talk it with respect to the variables, time series. But I'm more interested about knowing the stability of the network that we develop.
Right. It's more interested in the stability, whereas the stationarity is a different sort of measure.
Yeah, stationarity is tested for one time series variable.
Right. One time series.
Stability is multivariate.
Is the stability multivariate, or is that a network?
Yeah, stability will be tested for the network. That's a collection of time series.
Right. So stability is like mini stationarity measures on this sort of. Okay. The other potential thought that I had while we were talking is, and I don't know if they'll be able to answer this, but the ADO, so the Australian Digital Observatory people do a lot of like they work with things that are network related. I don't know if they'd be able to help as well, but if we don't find something or the cats thing doesn't lead there, that might be an option to go down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to spruik this part of the UQRUG website, there's a community groups link that has a links to a bunch of different community
Okay.
groups
Yeah.
in the UQ sphere, like the Python user group, Our Ladies Brisbane, Accio UQ, the geospatial community, which is now geospatial share, and UQ and QUT office hours by the Australian Digital Observatory. So they do a lot of like different kind of computational methods, which they're very HAS focused, but I think that kind of economic time series may be related.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. We'll see what people dig up because I can hear people typing in the background. So maybe we'll get more things.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you for your question.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Question 2, pros and cons of using Markdown versus Word to write journal articles. Who is Noah? Noah, are you in person or online? Oh, hello. This sounds like a very like a roundtable discussion, so I'm happy to throw this out to everybody.
Okay, all I'll add is that I'd be using APA 7, which is the psychology format.
APA 7. Yes, okay, good. And you're comparing Word, like some Microsoft Word, versus using Markdown. Has anyone done such thing with those guidelines in particular with APA 7?
I think you can use Zotero to do all your in-text citations. You need better bib text. There's some other plugin you need in order to like make a unique code for each one of your Zotero. So Zotero is like an open source EndNote or Mendeley. I don't know if you can use EndNote or Mendeley. You can use a plugin for RStudio. Yeah. But with Zotero, you can do it, but you need to have another plugin, which I can't remember, is like better big text or something. But yeah, so you can do your citations, which is good. I've attempted to try and start a paper in Markdown, which I haven't worked on in a very long time. But I guess a pro would be you can just like generate, you can have your code just to generate your plot, like write in kind of the same document instead of like exporting it, saving it, having a million different copies and dragging it into your Word doc and all that sort of stuff. And I guess it depends on but then I'm not sure, it depends on the journal, like you might have to export it as a Word doc anyway, right? It depends on things. Like some journals that are very like bioinformatics, they might accept like the R Markdown file like straight up with that, but yeah, so a con could be, you might have to export it to a Word document anyway, because the journal won't accept it.
The other thing is collaboration. If you've got multiple authors, it's going to be hard for non-programming authors to go through and track changes in R. I don't know if you can.
Oh, you
Okay.
you use GitHub.
Yeah,
You just use a repo or something.
But again, not.
and then not.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the content of your journal article? Do you know, like in terms of visuals, besides the text and the referencing, are the two things that you have? I mean, text we're assuming.
Yeah, just graphs and that sort of thing as well.
You have graphs, okay? Do you have formulas? Like mathematical?
No, generally no.
Okay. It's Markdown. I think it's that could be more beneficial. I think for some formulas. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Yeah, you can embed some data.
Yeah.
In
that sense, it could give you more flexibility if you have that. I guess it also depends which blocks, but I don't really see the graphics elements like like plots. I don't think that would give you much of a difference.
Okay.
Except maybe with the formatting, it could be tricky with I mean, like more elaborate when you run your code. But let's see, maybe with APAs, what I have heard is that not necessarily word itself, but endnote could be funny and have it wrong sometimes, which endnote is like the one that is normally used at UQ is the license that we pay for people to do the referencing. And I heard things like, sometimes it gets it wrong, and sometimes people end up doing it very rarely, but it happens, like they end up doing it and stuff manually because they want everything to be correct. And they put like the numbers, you know, like they have all the list of journals with all the numbers, and then they put the curly bracket or the square bracket, and they need to use it from the 38.7. You know, so yeah, I mean, I'm not saying a lot, but basically, I suppose that if you know how to do your fitting markdown, then you can go around the shortcomings of the endnotes that otherwise you would have to do manually, which completely, you know, if you want to be very, you know, pedantic about the application of the APA unless they fix it on the program, which is the correct thing, right? So they stop doing silly things like having correct. That's all I know for now.
I think a definite pro is if you're using a markdown document that is similar to this markdown document here that I use to make I'll go to a better part so we can actually see it. The formatting here with the YAML, the code, hashes for titles, these sorts of things for columns. I could push that to be a presentation, I could push it to be a HTML website, and I could push it to be a Word document if I wanted to. So with the one document, I can create 3 things instead of creating 3 things. So if you're going to be doing those things, then there's some potential benefits to that.
Yeah.
Cool. But at the same time, I suppose you can export. I was going to say at the same time, if you want to turn that into, so can you just export that to something like a Word document?
Yeah, PDF, HTML, Word.
Okay, and then you lose some of that. I was going to say it's quite hard to take that and just turn it into something else. That's not one of those 3 things, right? Because you don't want to carry along all of your comments and stuff.
Yeah, and you could put you could probably put things in there to not include it if it's in, like, there's things you can do to say don't include this section if it's exporting to Word and stuff like that, which is adding fiddliness to it, which is why I put
bit like
fiddly as a con.
There is a piece of UQ piece of template in our markdown, if you're interested in looking at that. It's unofficial, there's a link. But you can have a look, like you can do your whole thesis in online. So unofficial.
I feel like to some extent it's a little bit when you're faced with the choice of should I be using Linux or should I be using Windows or whatever, like it's this battle between kind of, do I want to spend kind of time tweaking it and having fun in that way and using code to do that, and I would enjoy that, but also it's not necessarily shareable and something that other people can engage with as readily or explore quite as easily. But maybe it is if I get it right. But kind of something that is pre-built, customized setup, but also quite still kind of flexible. So I feel like that's quite helpful.
Yeah.
If I was doing all my statistics and analysis in R, would that be beneficial to doing the thesis in Markdown?
Potentially, because I would say that Markdown is like with any coding sort of thing. If it's going to be a convoluted bit of coding, it's only useful if you need to do it multiple times. So if you've got where we do use Markdown in that kind of situation is if you've got a report you have to write every year and the report structure is basically the same, it's just the data that changes, use Markdown, because then you can just change the input and it'll update the year, update the data, update the graphs, and then you just export it. You've saved a whole bunch of time.
Yeah.
But if you're making this document once, it's probably easier to go with something that's a bit more intuitive to use, unless you're real keen for it.
Yeah. If it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure, why not?
Cool. It could be cool, but it could be useless.
I think your question is interesting because like the previous one as well, because it's almost like you're not asking just about which, like the comparison between both platforms, but also like the swapping between different journals. Maybe, you know, it's kind of hidden in your question, like if I want to publish in this journal that has these requirements and then I also want to submit the same paper to this other journal, publish it with in whichever is accepted first or something. Which one gives me an advantage, right? Because they normally ask for different styles and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess it would be good to do a search, you know, for exactly like that, like for swapping styles, the journal's preferences, and I'm trying to understand which one allows you, because in Word we do know that we have maybe buttons, so we can just, you know, drop down comfy buttons that will swap between one style to another in theory. I don't really know how well it works. And not definitely for referencing, we have just the buttons and the choop choop, and then, you know, different requirements. I do wonder, in my what are the possibilities for swapping that preference, or if we have to just write a big chunk of code or just steal it from somewhere, copy paste. And which one is easier and which one is better resolved? I don't know. I'm throwing more questions there, but I think that's part of your question that is not necessarily explicit.
Cool, thank you.
Cool. The interesting question. I like it. We'll move to the next one, but people can still throw things in there if you've got other pros or cons that jump into your brain. We'll go down to question 3, which is, are there packages that allow you to put your own images in R? And I'm glad that question has been asked, because that, I believe, has been asked based on the fact that you can put memes in, so you have to be able to put your own images in, right? And the answer is yes. I think I've done it before. I meant to look it up in leading up to this, but we can see that Jocelyn has said RSVG and ggSVG allow you to add SVG images into a ggplot. I think geom image is, I think there's a geom image function somewhere. Let's if anyone is able to share code and have a play with that to see if they can figure out the answer to that. Happy to do a little bit of playing. Does anyone know of anything that falls in that, or has anyone found anything that answers that question?
Sorry, which one? The third question?
Third question, yeah. Are there packages that allow you to put your own images into R?
I have questions, like clarifying questions. Like, what do you want to do with the images? Is it just you just want to make it? Is it the question from someone via like online?
Yes. Jocelyn's online. Yes.
Jocelyn's here, but
Oh.
the question was asked by Eden.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Eden?
Yes.
Ah, okay, cool. Got people.
It's just for fun, because we use R at work and we want to send like funny little plots to our boss to mess with him. So
Okay.
yeah.
So what you want to do is put your own images on the blog.
Yeah, so there's no specific packages that have the images we're looking to plug. If it's just like a funny little inside joke image or something, can you pop it, like download it and then put it onto R itself?
Okay, and in which form, like how good? Help me. Like, can you describe how you want to see it? You want to see it immersed in the code? You want to see it?
Oh, like
on
on
a plot? You want to see it?
like on a scatter plot or some sort of like
Okay.
You customize that.
yeah.
Just in the same way that we were doing with the
Yeah, with the dogs and the
and then
and
just
the
like
cat.
the faces of
Yeah.
the teammates or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I love that. We should probably do this. Our monthly report. This is the many consultations camera. I love it.
All right. I think GG image,
CG image.
GG image, GG dogs, GG cats, GG burning, GG image. It fits. It fits the trend. But let's see what happens when I run it. And then we'll. I think it's currently downloading what I'm going to assume to be Professor Frink PNG. And so that should appear in the plots. Oh, wait. Yep, there you go. There's Frink.
Also, yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
The answer is yes. So let's have a look. So GG image is in CRAN, so you can just install it as a package. Load GG image. I was going to change the dog one to it, that's fine. And then we just need to. This is setting up data frame. This is setting up an image into the data frame. Setting up a size, and then it's saying the image that we want for the image, in geom image, is image. Getting a bit repetitive. Yeah, so it can be done.
Yeah, cool, thank you.
And that was the sneaky lesson from GG Dogs, is it's not actually useless. You can now put custom images in there for aesthetic purposes, and aesthetic isn't useless. But I'm going to assume that RSVG and SVG are the same thing, but specifically designed for putting SVGs in, which is a scalable vector graphic for those playing at home.
Well done, Josie. Well done. First time I think you're wrong.
No,
Yeah, that's right, so you're online.
weird because I feel like I know you. I attend online all the time, and so like I smile at you in the hallway or something, and you don't know who I am. So sorry. Yeah, this is my first time attending.
I didn't know I had a parasocial relationship. That's
Have to put the camera so I don't know on there.
Justin's also pointed out there's the magic package, which is a big, huge rabbit hole that you can go down into, that has all sorts of stuff that you can modify with images and stuff with ggplot. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with grids and all sorts of stuff like grobs, which is a thing, a graphical object. I don't think that shortens well to grob, but anyway. Cool, good question. Another fantastic question here: how to reduce the loading time for a large Plotly graph. This one is from Jocelyn. I've created some Plotly graphs that have a lot of data points and it takes a long time to load. Is there a way to reduce the loading time for this? I don't know, but I just like when people talk about Plotly because it's a really cool package and it's great for visualizing data. For those who don't know, Plotly is it goes beyond R, it plugs into R, you can use it in Python and all sorts of stuff, and can basically turn a regular graph into an interactive graph. Ooh, what happens if I do it with the GG Dogs?
It'd probably take me a while.
And you feel it is Plotly and not the functions that are generating the dots.
Yeah, I think it's just like, because there's so many data points, so like the CSV file.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The CSV file is 142 megabytes, and so that made the HTML file 220 megabytes. But I still want it to be interesting.
Yeah.
Are you making it as a ggplot and then putting it into ggplotly?
I started off doing it that way, and then it didn't quite work out. So then I started doing it in just Plotly by itself, and yeah, it's still it's quite slow still, but it works. It's slow.
Slow to use or slow to load? How many data points did you say?
The CSV file is 143 megabytes. So
I don't have a good answer. Does anyone? So for those who don't know though, this is what Plotly can do. So what would have been a standard boring ggplot output, using Plotly and ggplotly allows you to interact with the graph and like hover over it and see the details. And if there were multiple different categories here, we could click on them and we can zoom in on the graph as well and do all sorts of stuff like that. So Plotly is a really good way to explore your data. Potentially not if it's 100 megabyte data file. But yeah, Plotly, really fantastic package, which is why I was happy to see it come up. So I'm always happy to spruik Plotly. Because data visualization is not just about presenting the data, it's about exploring the data and playing with it. And when you can actually interact with it, click on it and zoom in and change things around, you get a lot more out of it too. So use it as part of the analytics and the explorational side of your data process, not just the output. But it's also great as an output because then people can click on things and do that exploring for themselves. I'm going to guess that because it's trying to, because you're interacting with a 130 megabyte file, it's slow.
That we stop it 15.
So like that's when it struggles, sort of thing.
Maximum data size in Plotly 50 megabytes.
Well, that lies because like it's 120, but it's very slow.
It's probably then a soft command, right? Probably just what they say. It's not actually going to stop doing it after that. And it is, but I don't see anything after that.
So it's sort of like Plotly doesn't recommend things that are 150 megabytes.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another tool for big sets of data.
Yeah, actually, I did find one.
No.
I don't think I wrote it down, but it wasn't as pretty, so I didn't go with it.
Do you think there's a way that you could use? So are you, when we're talking about using Plotly for a 200 megabyte task, are we talking about calling one Plotly function to produce the, I mean, we'll do things to shape it and everything, but at the end of the day, the thing that's taking the time is one Plotly function that plots this file. Is there a way that, I haven't used Plotly much, I don't know, but is there a way that you can produce multiple Plotly functions with smaller segments of the data that then all appear on the same thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I'm not sure if that's kind of all at once.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like.
I think you can draw over things, sort of thing. I don't know if Plotly does that.
It's basically a tool that can combine a lot of logic graphs, but I think that requires a lot of coding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from kind of, I know Matplotlib better and kind of that know better, and so you create a figure object and you can put your axes on, and you can put as many axes within you want on the one figure. And so if you can use Plotly in that way, whereas the second time you call it, it puts it there, maybe there's a parameter that's like display on the same current axis. Simple as that. But I don't know if there would be. It doesn't. Interactive stuff is different.
Yeah,
right?
it's different when it's interactive because how many data points is that? 130 megabytes. So what it's doing is it's got 1 million active points that you can interact with. It's just, that's too much. That's it. I feel like you need a more powerful, all of the things that are involved in it. I don't know if it's.
But if you've got 1 million data points, are you able to? You're not able to interact with all, right?
Yeah, so I've made it so I can like make it like a little bit smaller. So if there's like a button to push to bring up like a section that I'm interested in, and then so I could probably just do like separate ones for each.
Yeah.
Yeah, pre-subset.
You could have your own kind of button that you can drag it that way, maybe just like that.
No. The other thing is this called DY graph. Apparently it's for like art set, but you can do like the range selection for that, but it's not very.
I mean, you can use Plotly in Python as well.
It sounds that basically that will be create a customized tailored version of Plotly specifically for that.
Okay.
But that will require a lot
of work, yeah.
But Plotly also integrates. Like you could just use Plotly with your Python script.
But it's still with.
So it would have the same problem.
Yeah, but you need basically to.
So you need to make your own Plotly.
You still, if you've got 1 million points, it's still like.
You still find the I mean, I'm sure then, yeah.
It's like a computational issue. But I guess going back to what Cameron said, it's like, how useful is it to be able to interact with 1 million points?
Yeah.
Because like, are we running into overplotting rather than?
Because if you do want to have on the like, because I mean, what could be nice, right? Is I don't know what your time looks. Like. You've got your 1 million points in all these different categories, and you also, when you have this zoomed out, you want to see everything as well, right? I mean, you want to. That's quite a nice thing. So you can do that. You can get the big picture and you can get the small. But if you can somehow, in zooming out, reduce the number of points such that it's summarizing or it's grouping, something like that. So when you do that, you've got, I mean, maybe that goes back to what you were saying before. You just got to have a lot of plots. One for zoom out and all the different options for zooming in. Not quite as clean.
Well, I mean, that's how Google Maps works, you know. It's like any sort of with any sort of raster file or any sort of with raster files you create pyramids of lower resolution. So I don't know how that necessarily works with a vector of 1,000,000 points sort of thing, but grouping them together at that zoomed out level, and then only when you zoom in do you get that depth. But does that exist as a package? I don't know, but that would work to plot 1,000,000 things that are interactive, and I don't know how Plotly would feel about that, but we've got a link there that looks interesting. Speeding up Plotly. it's got the right keywords.
It also says JavaScript.
I mean, but you will have, it's still like you have to look at JavaScript, so, I mean.
R and JavaScript.
It's okay, because, you know. ChatGPT is there to help us, right?
Yeah. I mean, given it saying like, whoa, 3.5 megabytes, watch out. But then there may be things you can take from that give you more tips to make it more efficient. I think my general leaning is subset the data and just make a number of plots or something, like make a zoomed out one that's got them grouped together and then make individual ones that are zoomed in. But yeah, I don't know. But it's an interesting question.
Some of the forums also say that depending on which plotly function you're using, some of them are going to slow you down and some of them are smooth. So I don't know. Yeah, if you're keen to share some of those details, maybe we can
Cool. Well, that's all of the questions that are in here. I'm happy to take more questions from people in the room and everything like that. But something I wanted to point out for those who are here and also those still online is that on the UQRUG site, we have all of the past meeting notes from previous RUGs. So the notes we're taking today are actually helpful going into the future because the answers to these questions are then findable. So if you do go to the UQRUG site, on every page, there's this search thing here, and you can search for your thing. So maybe someone else has asked the question about Plotly like that before. I doubt it'd be exactly that, but there we go. We've got to think about animated interactive plots sort of thing. But yeah, maybe you'll find resources you're looking for because it's basically a bunch of maybe not frequently asked questions, but definitely asked questions that you can go dig through. So this is a resource that anyone can use. Cool. Well, what do we want to do for the next 40 minutes?
I go through the questions and try again. No? I don't know.
Are you recording this? Is that, I'm just looking through past meetings. Do you put the recordings up somewhere?
Yes, so this has been recorded. If anyone doesn't want their voices in it or anything like that, let me know and I can cut that out. We've got a YouTube channel that I'm gradually working on. As you would know from the geospatial share, it's always a big thing to do. But yeah, I think I'll put this one up. Try and do this one sooner rather than later so that people can make some cool but useless things.
Parallelization. With parallelization. We had a person helping with that the other.
You might work with it like the analysis, but I don't know if it would be like visualizing it from.
You need to like write your own Plotly that you parallelize it.
Has to be able to parallelize.
Guessing
Plotly.
Probably surely not.
Yeah.
No, Plotly wouldn't, but you can send your data to Plotly.
The function has to be able to.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just interesting.
But related to YouTube, I forgot there's an R Ladies Brisbane talk on using R Markdown to publish, which I put in the link there. So watch that. That's there. Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. So Catherine shared a Our Ladies Brisbane YouTube video on using All right.
Using Grammarly.
Using Grammarly, yeah. I just
An essay.
That's it.
said no.
No, you have to, it's just that.
Yeah. Cool. So writing a manuscript in our Markdown. So this is a 46-minute conversation about exactly what you asked. So
Awesome.
that's why I love this community. People are like, here's the exact thing you're looking for. That's wonderful. Thank you, Kat. Cool. What does everyone want to do? We can, oh, wait, there was a question in the chat, wasn't there? Jane has said, oh, it's a comment. I have very large data sets and do just this, use ggplot to look at the big data and then subset into plotly. Right, so you don't need to interact with 1,000,000 points, but you want to show there's 1,000,000 points. So have a static 1,000,000 point ggplot and then have the smaller ones as interactive. Yeah, that's an elegant solution. Thank you. I'm going to put them in there. Because that way someone can search for it and find the answer later. Well, if people don't have more questions, we can, what did you say?
Red room?
Well, actually, we're going to Belltop after this. So
Yeah.
we go to Red Room and then Belltop straight after. We can do some more playing around with things if people want to play with some of the different packages.
Oh, I have a question actually.
Yes.
I got told that you can use RStudio to help you find specific like correlations between variables that you think may have a pattern. It's like, for instance, if I'm doing like ecology and we're looking at the specific artificial habitat and how, if it works in terms of abundance, it increases abundance. So is there a way to actually look to find those sort of patterns? Because I know with Excel you have to sort of go through and find it yourself, or is that just through the statistics in terms of summary or something?
GG pairs.
GG what, sorry?
GG
Yeah.
pairs.
Pairs. Oh.
In the library with cold blood.
I've only used it twice, but it basically takes all of your variables and does a Pearson's correlation with all of your variables. So you immediately go, okay, that has an R value higher. And you can take those variables and go and explore with them.
Yeah, well, cool, thank you.
Very simple.
That's what I was hoping to find. GG pairs? Is it geom pairs? Is that a function or something? Or there's a
GG pairs is a package.
so is that a GitHub only?
It's like there's a base version of it, which does like exactly that. It takes all the variables, and I can't remember what the base version is.
Pairs. Pairs.
Is it pairs?
Yeah.
Without GG.
Yeah.
Is it function called
That's
pairs?
the function.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Pairs, empty bars.
Yeah. So try pairs empty card.
It'll give you like a correlation, but it'll give you
Oh, no, that's me for being too zoomed in.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else is doing it already, haven't they? Oh wow, look, Nick's still having issues. No wonder it was struggling. It's so zoomed in. So for those who, if you ever see that, if you ever see that error, it's because you're too far zoomed in and it can't draw the plot.
Most people say it's the sequence.
So their weight and displacement seem to have a correlation. That's the kind of vibe you're looking for, just at a glance. Yeah.
Yeah, just because I have a lot of data and I'm not sure how to like it's good to dissect it apart, but I sort of want to get I like getting an overview before I start slowly dissecting it and pulling it apart. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you for that.
But yeah, so they're GG pairs.
This does it nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it does the exact same thing.
Yeah, cool.
and this one does it real quick. So they're both good.
Yeah.
Many ways to do the same thing. This is very similar to the seagull. Oh, that's the tip start set.
What was this one, sorry? Yeah.
This is GG pairs.
GG pairs.
And you can see because there's the effectively calculable data is. That's putting the histogram.
Well, but didn't know the histogram is itself. Oh, no, that's the
Yeah. It's making a decision then. Thank you for put that away. That's awesome. So, not to give away, whatever you may be putting into the competition if you were intending to do it. Did anyone have a play with anything that we saw from today? Did anyone actually get the opportunity to install GG dogs or play with anything?
Yeah, it made the plot look.
Encouraging people to play. Because yeah, there's like 25 different dogs that you can put in. You don't have to use the default Doge. Cool. Instead, I'm going to show you guys a neat tip that I should. Someone's playing with beepr. So if you get annoyed by this reality, then you'll be impressed by this. Yeah. So so what it is it is a code snippet. So over here because there's a lot of stuff in our studio that you don't look at. This is one of those things that I'm glad I found. Basically, these are bits of code that you can run by typing in a shortcut and then pressing Shift Tab. So this top one here, for example, is LIB Shift Tab. I mean, it really isn't saving much time. I don't know why that exists.
But those are built in.
Those are built in. This one I got from Stack Overflow. And I'll put it in the chat for everyone because put in the hedgehog. It's a much better suggestion.
Should have case.
It's already copying. Yeah. So basically you grab that, you go to tools, edit code snippets, and then just paste in here. It doesn't have to be PP, that's just whatever the person who I got from Stack Overflow called it. You could just type in whatever you want to. And then if you have a URL from a Windows computer with the damn backslashes in there, you simply type PP and then press Shift Tab and it pastes it inside quotes with forward slashes.
You copy the URL.
Yeah, you copy the URL.
So it actually just pastes whatever's in your clipboard, right?
Yes, so paste whatever. So what? Yeah. So
And puts quotation.
So you can see here the snippet will automatically insert whatever it has here, which is the quotes. It will use gsub to substitute out backslashes and turn them into forward slashes, and it will get that from the keyboard, the clipboard. So it looks at your clipboard, replaces all those things, and puts that in there. And it means that you don't have to go through and do the annoying thing where you either put in another backslash after any of those or a forward slash after those, which anyone who is a Windows user has probably had to do and been really annoyed at it. So there we go. That's
Can we talk about other RStudio things?
yeah, sure. We can just do a hot tips session. But we have a question in the chat. I think everyone's guilty of that. So the question is, you open up RStudio and it goes, there's a new RStudio. You watched me do it at the start of the session and queried RStudio twice. So I'm guilty of it too, because you always wanted to do the thing, not update the thing.
Oh, well, I'm scared that it's my code. My code's finally working, so I'm scared.
You're concerned that updating to a new version of RStudio could mean that your code stops working.
I've done it, it didn't.
Yep.
So yeah, generally updating RStudio won't. The issue could arise if you're needing to update your R version and there's packages that are not compatible with the latest version of R, that could break your code. If you're using things like tidyverse and all sorts of, very up-to-date packages, you're probably fine. If you're using some bespoke specific thing from 10 years ago that you found on a GitHub repo that's dependent on using R 3 point something, then yes, updating both RStudio and R could cause issues. That's where
Instilling me with a lot of confidence.
that's where someone would suggest to use something like RN, which I'm not versed in enough to give good advice on. If anyone's at the reproducible research thing yesterday, we were briefly introduced to it. I mean, I've seen it before, but I've never really properly used it. But it basically RN will create like a virtual environment of the R version and the R packages and everything that you have, and kind of create a snapshot of that so you can easily roll back to it. But I think there's easily is maybe not quite the right word for that, because it's a little bit complicated and convoluted to set up. But I guess if you're just using pretty standard packages and those packages are regularly maintained and updated, keeping R and keeping RStudio updated, you'll be absolutely fine.
But is there any case in which updating RStudio and not updating R is going to break your code? I don't see that.
There was a version of RStudio. I don't think it's the latest one. The one before the latest one, they had some bugs in it, and so when you tried to select a column that it just couldn't recognize after, they had a bug in it essentially. Yeah. So I had to roll back one until they fixed it, and then they brought up the latest version of RStudio. So sometimes updating it, if you don't need to, I don't think you have to. Like, that's more of an aesthetic thing as well. Yeah. So that when you go to color in ggplot color, and then the hashtag, and then now it's got the color, and that's a recent RStudio update. Whereas before that, when you put in the hex code, 4444XFA, it doesn't tell you what color that is. Whereas now it's like, oh, I'm bright pink or something. It's like, oh, that's really handy. That's the color that I actually. So that was a recent version of RStudio that they did update. And so that's one thing where it's like, oh, this is actually something useful to update RStudio for. But most of the time it's like, it's little things. It's not actually the R and the coding itself that are related. I don't think it would break. Yeah. But there was that one bug where
it did.
Yes.
Yeah. But I guess
Okay.
As a putting you at ease sort of thing, if you do update RStudio and something does break, you can roll back.
Yeah.
You can always uninstall RStudio, go to the RStudio website, get the previous version of RStudio and download that and install that. So if something does go wrong, which it doesn't do it very often, usually it's pretty good. Yeah, you've got that. That's not what I wanted to click.
Okay, well, I didn't know that you could go back, so that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, that was good. Where
Thank you.
do Thank you. There's the older versions button. Thank you. Many eyes. And then you can view the previous versions of the RStudio. So there you go. There's 2023.09.1. You get the installers, and then
And
0.
then avoid the 0.6 one.
Yeah, don't roll back to that one. But if you did update and for whatever reason it broke things, you've got all these different versions that you go to. So yeah, you can always roll back things.
Okay,
Yeah, worst case scenario, it's a little bit fiddly.
okay, thank you.
If you do that and you can't get past it, I will see you at the end of the month at UQRUG.
Pick up data, lots of questions.
Whoa.
So, the question, this is an antique blog post that I found, okay, but it's from Harvard University, which I think is reasonably respectable. Oh, right. Yeah, so there, they kind of talk about why Word is not appropriate for scholarly publishing. But it's from 2014, so it's 9-year-old. But if someone wrote that article and you have somehow the name of the author or way of contacting the author, give you the best answer, you can possibly very much.
Yeah.
So anyway, so just throw that in there, and it also kind of tells you like the pros and in my view is informative.
Cool.
But it's also not risk. You have to make a choice about what you're gonna do with that. And also I also put another article with the speeding up or the performance of online tools for visualization. So those who this question. And in that article there is a table that compares different tools for online plotting of things. In that case, they use environmental data, large data sets, and yeah, of course, I don't really know what to make of any of that. It's a full-on article that the person wants to read, but you might.
Ooh.
I'm only mentioning it because other people in this group right now might come across this issue, so maybe this can help you as well. Just only know that I put that there, but maybe others wants to know.
Is that the figure you're referring to?
No, I'm talking about a table. It's an actual table, no name. If you actually control F locally, that's the
Express. Cool.
and yeah, it's like which programming language they use. Because, yeah, a lot of the help kind of tries to throw people are using Python or using JavaScript. Yeah, instead of using R or locally. Anyways, stuff that looks like someone actually thought about these things and compared these things.
I was just the reason I paused at that figure is because I think it was talking about, you know, tips and tricks and things for
Yeah, I didn't see it.
for like making sure that your plots are maybe I was reading into it, but it looked like it was like how many dimensions, how should you do these different things, like having a think about what you're doing to visualize it properly. It seems like you're useful at the same time. Yeah, like you're going to show raw values and you're going to transform, you're going to aggregate things. It's other useful things to think about at the same time. But cool. Thank you, Valentina. Always coming in with the just out of nowhere links, you know? Great.
Sorry, Nick, you did it too fast and I'm way behind. Where did you go to put that snippet into it? I was trying to do modify keyboard for that snippet.
So if you
assign that in your.
so copy that snippet.
Yeah.
Go through to RStudio, go to tools, edit code snippets.
Yeah, I haven't got that.
So an advantage of updating RStudio version are you on? If you go to help and then go to about RStudio, it'll tell you.
1.3.1093.
What build number? Is there a build number associated with it? No, no. It's like, it's like the numbering system predate the same number. So somehow in
So you maybe you should.
I should, I think that's, I just had my computer wiped less than a bunch of stuff. No, just the.
So I think when they changed from RStudio to Posit, they changed the numbering, and so that predate. I mean, that was like last year or something like that, but that version's from 2020. So clearly, code snippets that they may still be in that version, but I don't know where they are. Oh yeah, so Kat was going to provide another handy RStudio thing. What did you have for us?
Global options. What's the soft wrap?
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, there's enable code snippets in global options, code.
Just trying to. Loom is in the way, and now it's not. Global options.
Code.
Or, and then you've got soft.
Yeah, I want to get soft.
So, oh, if you go to tools,
An old version though, that's true.
you go to global option. So does that work on that one too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think it does slightly more updated.
Ah, should be fine.
Okay, 20.
If you go to global options, you should be able to then scroll down in code.
Oh.
And then enable the code snippets.
Okay, I'm doing fit and download updates, so I'll.
Oh, okay.
And then the rainbow, let's see, oh, where's that? Appearance? Appearance? No. Code, display. At the bottom, use rainbow parentheses. So that like your first set will be red, your second set will be yellow, your third set will be orange and.
Oh yeah, I'm here for this. So that's so often an issue when you've got like, you've got many different layers of brackets, and you're like, wait, which one was the bit that's where? Thank you. I'm keeping that one. Yeah, that's there.
People don't know. Anything else?
For those who missed soft wrap, what soft wrap does is when you squish it down like that, see how it wraps onto the next line there. Whereas when you've got soft wrap turned off, it does that. That means you've got a scroll bar and it's annoying. Some people hate soft wrap, some people love it. I fall into the.
So if you change it in the settings, does that do that like globally for everything? Because I've currently just been doing like individually soft wrap lines for every file.
Yeah, so it's just when your window goes too small.
Yeah, so it does affect all of your files.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
What else? Cheat sheets are in RStudio as well, which is super handy. You go to tools, but not help. Cheat sheets. So these are all the like cheat sheets for if you're trying to use a package, get familiar with it, then it's a cheat sheet. I'll give it down.
How does filter work again? Ah, that's how filter works.
Right.
Yeah, just to repeat that one on the where was the rainbow? Was it in code?
Code display.
Code display. Rainbow parentheses, yeah. I'm here for that. That's great.
And then your keyboard shortcuts, what's the keyboard shortcuts? Let's see all the keyboard shortcuts, like command.
Alt Shift K. press Alt Shift K. There is a really hard to read shortcut reference. If you click the thing in the top right, you can see all of the shortcuts. Ah, in HTML. Yeah. Zoom is being really annoying. You can also modify your keyboard shortcuts and see all of the different potential shortcuts that you could ever do. Yeah.
Warnings on the
Yeah, I think so. There's potentially overlaps and things like that. So, for example, the assignment operator, is that Alt minus?
Yeah, oh, and it's fine.
I hate typing Alt minus, so I changed mine to Control less than symbol. But it makes teaching interesting because I'm like, and press Alt minus.
Then mention, Control Shift M, type.
Alt pipe, but if you have not done dplyr, may not be familiar with the magritar plot pipe. You may be familiar with that pipe, which is a different kind of pipe, but they both do the same thing.
Yeah, mine is on.
Yeah, I still use the old one, but that's something that you can change in the options.
So they do the same thing?
Yeah, they do exactly the same thing.
Just
No, but there was an article that says that
Oh.
the base one is faster.
Editing the third
I
one.
use the native pipe. There we go. So before R4.1, there was no pipe like that, and there was the package magritar, which gave you the other pipe, but now there's this pipe. So cool. Well, I'm a convert. You've convinced me.
Efficiency.
All right. Thank you all for coming to UQRUG. Like I said before, the next UQRUG will be on December 6th. Hopefully that works for everyone who wants to come along. And I know a lot of you are from UQ, but you're welcome to join in anyway. And if you happen to win the UQRUG, then that's like great rivalry or something, and UQ has to win it back or something next year. Yeah, absolutely. But yes, go out, play. Let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. You can reach out to me via the UQ Libraries training email address, which is here. If you have any questions about UQRUG, send it there and we'll get back to you. If you want to be on the mailing list for UQRUG, also reach out and I'll put you on that. But yeah, that's everything for today. Thank you so much for putting up with my antics and asking all the questions that you did. And hopefully you got something useful and interesting out of this and are inspired to play with some silly packages. And I'm keen to see what people have to show in 2 weeks' time. Valentina is coming in with no. Did you find another answer to something?
No, this is thoroughly. More questions because I'm not sure if her network, because network may come in so many things, so I don't know. But if there is a neural network, there is a link there for a package in R that can evaluate the quality of neural networks.
Awesome.
There, but you know, anyway, sorry, you were wrapping up very nicely, and I'm like, no, more answers, maybe.
That's
Perhaps,
right.
who
Well,
knows?
there is another answer there potentially. Yeah, reach out to us if you have any more questions on that at all. But yeah, again, thank you all so much for coming. I do hope to see you in 2 weeks' time, either online or in person. In person is great. It's lovely having an audience beyond Cameron and Valentina. But yeah, see you in December and have a lovely rest of the Res Fest.
Thank you.